future stays bright. We're building up the nation on a Thursday night. From the shores to the stage, yeah, we're keeping it real. Sehon Marshall's got the vibe and the late night feel. Ladies and gentlemen, it's another Thursday night, and thank you for joining us on Up Late with Sehon Marshall covering the issues, the development, and the heartbeat of the nation. Now, here's your host, Sehon Marshall.
Night to all. Welcome to this another edition of your favorite Thursday evening show, Up Late with Sehon Marshall. I am your host, Sehon Marshall, and I will be with you for the next hour and a half or so. Let me welcome you wherever you are. You're on Facebook or you are on YouTube. Welcome and thank you so much for joining. When you log on, please say where you're from, but also I encourage you, if you're on Facebook especially, share it on your timeline, share it on your page so that others can join as well. If you're on YouTube, you can share it on your WhatsApp status, like what I continue to do as I ask you and encourage you to support this program and share our program. Listen, it's always a pleasure to have you, ladies and gentlemen, with me every single Thursday night. Now, you know, not last week, we didn't have a show because of a holiday. And as I suspect that some individuals might be having a little thing because even my sister in overseas called and was asking if there's any up late, and I told her no because of the holiday, right? She might have been disappointed there. She might have been actually quite disappointed, but yeah, it was the holiday, so I took the day off. I needed the rest too. So I'm sure you wonderful folk understand. Now, listen, like again, I said, like, share. Let me thank you so much for those of you who've been supporting. You've been supporting Present Please. You've been supporting Uplate. You're there as the loyal viewers of the program. I meet people all the time who tell me, Mr. Marshall, I watch every single program. Some people still refer to it as late night as opposed to up late. But listen, it's all love. And those of you who meet me in the street every single day, just yesterday, Wednesday, I was walking through the town with my mom, and even my mom was laughing as she experienced firsthand many individuals just shouting across, "Present, please." That's all. That's all they say. And I know it's all love. All right, so there's someone from Vermont. There's, of course, Kojo, who's in LA, in California, rather, not LA, in California. Um, so thank you, Koji, for joining. Thank you so much from Vermont and St. Vincent and Grenades. Continue to just share the live and make sure that you always invite your friends to join us every single Thursday night. Now, the program continues, not just Outplay, but especially Present Please, continues to be extremely impactful. So impactful that the hate and dismay and the disgust continues. Now, Oakland, yes, Coach, one of the things that I realize is somehow Present Please and Upplate have both just taken things to another level. And I say that because, and I'm just doing the introduction here, so those of you who are joining, and I'm giving individuals time to log on and join and share. But tonight we have very, very serious discussion, very, very serious discussion to have, right? Now, those of you who be listening to this on Star in the morning sometime, they are saying tonight because, of course, the show starts tonight. So I realized that Present Please and Uplate continue to have really profound impact across all platforms. Now, usually I post Present Please on my personal Facebook page and my personal Instagram page. Then I post it on Uplate with Sehon Facebook page and Uplate with Sehon Marshall Instagram page as well. So it's on one Facebook account and one Facebook page, and on two Instagram accounts. I also post it on YouTube and I post it on TikTok. So different people see it on different medium. There are people who do not have Facebook accounts. I know many individuals who do not have Facebook accounts and they're happy for the YouTube. And then there are those individuals who are just on TikTok and they see it there. And there are those, like my sister Jill, who is on every single platform. And my good friend Narissa, who's also on every single platform. So I thank them for the love. I post the video and they will like and they will comment on all of the platforms. So I really appreciate the love from Jill and from Narissa. And there are others like them, I'm sure. But I noticed recently that there has been a buzz, all of this questioning surrounding what Sehon Marshall is doing and what could be the reason for what he's doing. One person even went as far as saying that I am trying to rebrand myself, or I'm putting myself out there. And I found it funny. Good night, Miss Cyrus and Dave. I found it funny because for years, going all the way back to 2010, of course, there were the periods when I was either at university, at law school, and so forth, when I was out of St. Vincent, when I was a diplomat and so on. For years, I did no radio for those years. But for the other years, from 2010 to now, most of the times, I've been doing Star Radio. Many individuals know me from Star Morning Scoop. It's a program that it's on Star every morning, weekday morning, for an hour and a half or 90 minutes. When I became press secretary in 2019, I went back to Morning Scoop in 2020, January of 2020, and I did Morning Scoop until I left St. Vincent in December of 2023 to attend law school. When I came back from law school last year, I also went back, and especially during the campaign, I was with Morning Scoop. Morning Scoop is 90 minutes, but for the campaign, everybody knows I had to go up to 2 hours and 2 hours and a half. So this is me on radio every single day for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, depending. And don't forget, I also did Street Beat. That's a lot of time on radio. A lot of time on radio. Since the elections, and the fact that I've now moved full time into my legal career, my legal practice, to make sure I have something solid, I have completely reduced my time in the media. So I don't do it every morning anymore for an hour and a half. Instead, I do 3 minutes per day, 3 minutes, from 90 minutes to 3 minutes. Now, that is 5% of the time that I used to do. So I've reduced my time to 5% per day. 5%. And I do a 1 hour, hour and a half program on YouTube. And apparently, that has the NDP and their supporters panicking. A 3-minute program, and it's not even 3 minutes. Because a lot of my commentary would be 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 45 seconds, and so forth. I try not to go too close to 3 minutes. Short. And that has them panicking. What are we doing? Why are you doing it? What are you doing? What is up for me? What are you going to run? I go tell all this something. If Sehon Marshall decides to offer himself to run, he can, because hey, what? I have one passport. And it's in Vincent. I've not sworn to a foreign power. I've not pledged allegiance to a foreign power. I have one passport. I have one love. I have one country at my heart. I have one passport in my front pocket, and it is St. Vincent and the Grenadines passport. Stop fret about me and my 3 minutes, and worry about the incompetence that is running St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But it shows to me that there's already some traction and some impact. And day after day after day, you see it because of the type of nastiness and disgust that is posted that are posted as comments below anything I post. They attack me personally, the attacks are there. But today, someone by the name of, I'm going to call the name because this is the sick stomach, dog, sick your stomach type of attitude of the NDP. So I'm going to call the name. A Facebook profile with the name Kimron Smith. Kimron Smith went on a post I have, and I want my director to put up a photograph. Listen to me. Let me warn you. It's nasty. It's disgusting. So if you don't have stomach, look away, because you would not be prepared for what I show you. So let me tell you, so you could look away. I'm going to post it so you could see I'm talking about. It's a comment from Kimron Smith. And you could go under the post. And he was attacking myself and a lady phone. Joseph is the person's name? Yes, phone. Cameron decided to go to the toilet, a toilet bowl, and take out a photograph of the contents of the toilet bowl and post it under my comment. That's the NDP for you. Director, you watch it, please. I tell you, look away now. If your stomach can't take it, look away. Because I ain't joking. This is what somebody, a Vincentian, posted on my timeline. The nastiness, the disgusting behavior. And that's funny. They love it. That is the NDP for you. So, Cameron, you're popular tonight. Because whoever watching tonight is going to see the person you are and what you're made of. Cameron Smith. In America, something like this, they look for you and your employer fire you and so on. I know I get fired, but I want people who are watching on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you are, to see the quality of individual that Kimron Smith is, because he thought it okay to post that on a public platform. That's Kimron Smith for you. Thank you very much, Director. So if your stomach ain't good, I'm sorry, but I warn you, I tell you, look away first. Let me tell you, look away. Now tonight, I want to focus on a theme I like to call, it's still about begging. It is still about begging. That's what we want us to focus tonight. Because we realize that the New Democratic Party still seems to be in opposition. And they've not gotten to the place of governance yet. So they still speak as if they're on the campaign trail and they're campaigning for votes. Somehow it has not sunk into the members of the NDP cabinet that they are now the executive of our country and they have a role to play in developing St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So they're still campaigning. Well, Venda, I tell you, he sick my stomach as much as the picture. But we could talk about that. Now, one of the things I learned, I have experience in diplomacy. I served as a consular officer and I served as a diplomat in multilateral diplomacy. I have training in international relations. I understand the seriousness of a country's foreign policy. My friend Richard would say all the time that your foreign policy is not merely an embroidery, a piece of embroidery on the tablecloth of national development. It is a fundamental part of the development thrust of any country. One country's foreign policy, a country's foreign policy is a significant instrument of their sovereignty and independence to be used for the further development of the country, the sustainable development of the country. That is why in many countries you have big ministries of foreign affairs. In the US, it's called the State Department. And the policy head, is called the Secretary of State. In the UK, it's called the Foreign and Home Office, or the Home and Foreign Office. You have the Foreign Secretary. In many other countries, it's simply the Foreign Ministry, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, and you have a Foreign Minister. And the Foreign Minister is a senior minister in the government because the Foreign Ministry that deals with the country's relationship externally with other countries is a significant ministry with significant responsibilities. Representatives there have the specific and direct responsibility of representing the country with other countries. Now, of course, anybody who travels from a country represents the country. But note I said the specific responsibility, task and responsibility of representing your country's foreign interests, its policy with other countries. And that manifests itself in many ways. Now, while individuals would tell you, and my training in international relations tell you that the Minister of Foreign Affairs or the Secretary of State is the country's top diplomat, the most powerful diplomacy really is between the leaders. The most powerful, right? When it comes to the leaders, you know it's at a whole new level. So it's one thing when Foreign Minister Peters of the ULP administration, and I could only speak about it because the last set of serious foreign ministers we had were on the Labour Party. We have a joke now for foreign minister, right? We have a joke for foreign minister. And a not very funny joke, but a joke nonetheless. So when you have diplomats like Minister Peters, or you have Minister Gonzalez before, or Minister Straker, or so on, and those ministers go out to meet with a foreign minister of foreign ministry representatives of a different country, that's serious business. But when you see the leader, him or herself, pays a visit to your country, that's a whole different level. And when the leader gets involved in the foreign policy at that level, it's serious business. Our country, under the Youth Labour Party, took foreign policy and foreign relations to a whole new level. And no serious Vincentian can doubt that the way St. Vincent and the Grenadines conducted its foreign policy, its foreign business under the ULP, took St. Vincent and the Grenadines to a whole new level. But instead of recognizing that aspect of our foreign policy, or let me put it differently, instead of recognizing the brilliance of that approach to foreign policy, the current government even while in opposition, used phrase to try and demean what our government was doing in relation to our foreign policy drives. The Prime Minister then would tell you, I have to go out, put on my boots and go and come back. Look for something. We're a small country. In 2001, when the ULP inherited Simmons and Grenadines, I'm going to try and not to use too strident a term because I don't want somebody to vex with me. So let me be very generous with the NDP. And instead of describing, in my words, how I feel the status of St. Vincent was in 2001, I'm going to just outline some facts. When the ULP took over in 2001, we had a situation where we were in debt. We were in a lot of debt. We knew of and we met a fiasco at Otley Hall, riddled with corruption, that had us in debt of $200 million. But the property was only worth 14. So you could think of it in a more, if that is too wide a concept for you to think, you could say, well, okay, you borrow money from the bank, $200,000 to build a house. And when the contractor hand over the keys to you and you walk in the house and you call Franklin Brown of Brown Quantity Surveying, and Franklin, you owe me for the ad there, of Brown Quantity Surveying and Valuation Services. And Frankie do the valuation for you. He tell you this house here only worth $14,000. Eh? That's what we were with the Atley Hall. That's what Labour met. We met a situation where only about 40% of our students were going to school. And one of the main reasons for that was lack of spaces. We had a deficiency of trained teachers in our schools. We had a nursing shortage, or hospital service or services were inadequate. We didn't have an airport, an international airport. And so we can go on and speak about the things that we lacked without me saying or describing or giving my opinion as to what I thought the state of St. Vincent and the Grenadines was at the time. Now, you who are watching can choose whatever terms you want to use to describe St. Vincent and the Grenadines back then. Now, in order to move St. Vincent and the Grenadines forward, a number of things had to be done. You know what we also didn't have in 2001? Or rather, you want me to describe a situation in 2001? People leaving Sandy Bay and Overland and Orange Hill and Magong and Old Sandy Bay and Point and Owe and so forth. When they got to Georgetown, they had to take off their shoes depending on the weather and walk across what we now know as, or what we knew then as, the Dry River, the Rabaca Dry River. There was no bridge. There was no way to pass the Dry River safely, especially if rain was coming. That's what we also met in 2001. So there was a significant deficit. There were clear deficiencies in what we knew to be St. Vincent and the Grenadines in education, in health, in infrastructure, and so on and so forth. I find my internet like it really jumping me tonight, but that's all right. God is good. God is good. I asked the director if he posted to Facebook. Facebook, where did he post, director? He posted to Uplift with Sehon Marshall Facebook. Oh, okay. So just give me a second because I didn't share it on my Facebook page. Sorry about that, listeners. Yes. So we saw the deficiencies, and the government recognized the deficiencies that existed. I'm just going to post that. Sorry, quickly. Let me just post that quickly. Sorry, and I know my viewers don't like this part, but give me a second, please. I should have done it a long time ago. I thought I had, but yes. All right, all right. Yes, my apologies. Yes. So we knew some of the things that we didn't have, and in order to bring the country to where the country needed to be, it would take money. It needed money, lots and lots of money. Now, we could have done a few things: increase taxes, high tax people. We could borrow money, or we could beg for assistance. Three things. If you know, well, and you could also grow the economy. As you grow the economy, more goods and services are being produced. It means more and more people and businesses are paying taxes. That's also an option. Well, based on the GDP compared between 2001 and now, we grew the economy. We grew the economy over the period by over 3 times, 300%. So that was done. Over the years, the government reduced taxes from 40% to where now it's about 28%, 20 to 26% right now. So we didn't increase taxes, we grew the economy. But there also needed to be some urgency in our development approach, because certain things had to happen quickly if St. Vincent and the Grenadines was to develop and move forward. You need to build schools. You need to improve healthcare. You need to improve infrastructure, including addressing the issue of air travel, airport. You needed to deal with the issues of climate change, because from time to time you had lots of rain, and with the lots of rain or hurricane, you had flooding, and flooding destroyed people's homes because banks overflowed the river. You had storm surges at the sea and so forth that was eroding the coastline. All of these things were happening at the same time, All of these things were happening at the same time. Not one after the other. And at the same time, we have to improve our situation in education to ensure that our students, our workforce became more trained, better trained. And I remember the government, through the Prime Minister, coined the phrase of building a modern, competitive, many-sided, post-colonial economy. And the Prime Minister explained all of these words and their meaning in the context of the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We had a task to do, and we had to do it. And so one of the things that the government did was to use the instruments of its sovereignty and independence, its foreign policy, and seek relationships with partners, countries that were able to assist us in our development. And the assistance came in many forms. The New Democratic Party, while in opposition, branded that as begging. He branded it, they branded it as begging. I remember E.G. Lynch, who's now deceased, talking about the begging bowl. Oh, he got with the begging bowl, he got with the begging bowl. Apparently, that was something to be ashamed of, because our Prime Minister, members of his cabinet, would go out and engage friendly governments and seek assistance where we needed it. So yes, Labour begged. Labour went about begging. They begged. And let's talk about some of the begging that they engaged in, because it's important, just in case you didn't know. One of the first things they did when they came was to go to the UK to ask, or to beg, to use the NDP's words, to beg for debt forgiveness, sorry. Now, I believe it's really a matter of sour grapes, because if you remember, Arnim Eustace, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and who became Prime Minister, went to the same UK government to beg for the same debt forgiveness and did not get it. Because the UK said, listen, I'm not impressed with your poverty reduction policies and so forth. So no debt forgiveness was given to the NDP about 2 years before Labour came into office. Within 6 months, Dr. Gonzalez went to the UK, we got debt forgiveness. We beg for it, we get it. We beg for it, we get it. If we are supposed to feel ashamed that our Prime Minister or government was able to seek debt forgiveness from the UK government, and the UK government could say, yes, you know what, I love what you're doing with your poverty reduction and so forth, I'm going to write off the debt, no problem. Then fine, let me feel shame for it. I wish I go to a bank and the bank tell me, boy, you see the money they take for go study law, you have to pay back, man. You think I go feel shame? Listen, I'll go to every single institution. You go to court and let courts tell you, hey, the money over the fridge, the stove, the whatever, don't pay it again. And tell me if you go shame. But apparently, according to the NDP, when they were in opposition, we're supposed to feel shame for that our government is going out and seeking debt forgiveness. We also had the news, let's talk about Hook and Gill. We had the Hook and the Gill, the news from with neck with a black tie to it called Ackley Hall. $200 million in debt for something that cost $14 million. And I will put my neck on the block that there is rampant corruption, that politicians benefited monetarily from that. But we never find out, because people ran and hide and hid from inquiry, so that the Natal Invention will happen. I want to talk about it. People say, oh, you still talk about Lee Hall? I have to, because we don't know. There's a difference between saying, I hear what you say, but I don't believe, and I had nothing to tell you, which is what James Mitchell said to the Vincentian people. I have nothing to tell you. But the ULP administration, through the Prime Minister, went out and tell people, listen, debt forgiveness, we can pay the back. Two things. One, we weren't involved in that corruption, eh? And two, the level of corruption and scamming and scheming that happened that day, nah, we can't pay for that day. As a matter of fact, the thing we had don't even value the $200,000. Nah, not pay for that. We got the debt forgiveness. We're supposed to feel shame for that, because we beg for the debt forgiveness. So we're supposed to feel shame for that. Really? So I'm glad they beg for that, because there's $200 million taxpayers did not have to pay back. Apparently, Godwin Friday would have preferred that St. Vincent and his taxpayers pay for the corruption of Ackley Hall to the tune of $200 million, but they don't want to pay for airport, and they don't want to pay for port, and they don't want to pay for hospital, but they want to pay for Ackley Hall, because it's supposed to shame that Ralph Gonsalves and Labour beg for debt forgiveness. They say beg and bowl, beg and bowl, beg and bowl, beg and bowl. We went just a few years ago, and we were talking Venezuela. And while some countries were getting 50% and 25% and so on, we got 100% debt forgiveness, $180-something million. We begged for that. We got that. We begged for that. And we got that. We asked Taiwan now, beg, let me beg. We beg Taiwan for money for the SET program and the YES program. We get it. We train hundreds and hundreds of young people every year. We're supposed to shame for that account the NDP because we begging. We begging. So we're supposed to shame for that. Ralph Gonsalves almost single-handedly went around the world and begged for scholarships to train Vincentian students. We had little drop of people in university. Now we have hundreds of people all over the place. Taiwan, people go to Russia, I go Azerbaijan, you know, young man is Azerbaijan, people go Turkey, people go Morocco. I think there's something in Romania right now. University of Wales, Trinity St. David. And I can go on and on of the personal exploits where he begged. And hundreds of Vincentian students benefited their education through the begging. Never mind a lot of them going to vote against him and join with the NDP and talk about how you begging bowl. But if you didn't beg for the scholarship, you would not have a degree. You would not have a degree. You wouldn't have a first degree. You wouldn't have a second degree. You wouldn't have a PhD. You wouldn't be able to go and take up the bunch of work there all again now if Ralph didn't beg. But apparently, Ralph and Sidman is supposed to feel ashamed for going out and using the instruments of its sovereignty and independence for the benefit of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. When we were building the port, Ralph went and begged the UK, he get 30 million euros from the UK, from David Cameron. Remember he said that. That going to the port, that they're talking about and making big ad. We beg for that. We beg for that. When you wanted to build the AIA, the same airport that they do all kind of thing for stop building. But now they're jumping up to tell you how it's fantastic and how it's bringing all these numbers. We beg Mexico. I think it was Fox. We beg Trinidad. We beg Canada. We beg Iran. We beg Georgia. It's called the coalition of the willing. We beg Cuba. We beg Venezuela. We beg. They're out there now. And the New Democratic Party, in opposition, sought to embarrass us and demean the work of the government by reducing us to mere beggars. Beg and bowl. You're begging. Just go and beg. I have never heard, and maybe you have, if you're listening to the program, you viewed the program, whether you're viewing from England or wherever. Maybe you have, but I have never heard another political party, never heard any representative of a political party as a policy of that political party in the same way that the New Democratic Party of St. Vincent and the Grenadines sought to reduce the foreign policy exploits of the government as begging. The only party I know that has done that in the region, probably the world, I don't know, but I could talk for the region. I never heard even the UNC, whether you let them or not in Trinidad, we never they go and talk about Rowley and the ANC begging. ANC, where we be? I never heard it in Grenada, in St. Lucia, in Dominica. People rally around these national things because these things are bringing benefit to your country. So if somebody go and get $30 million, beg for $30 million to add to monies for the port, you don't try and shame them for it. You applaud it. And if the government goes and begs for scholarships across the globe so students could be trained, you don't try to make us feel less than humans about it and reduce us to beggars. You applaud it. And even building an international airport that we didn't have, that we desperately needed, that you couldn't provide, you went and you put together a coalition, and the members of that coalition offered assistance to us. You don't try to reduce us to begging and beggars. You recognize the genius of the plan, but not this new Democratic Party administration, or rather in opposition. We realized that we needed to improve our healthcare. And the government went wrong and built things. They built the polyclinics and so forth. But we needed something that offered modern services. And with the assistance of Cuba, again, another project that they berated in the worst ways. It shouldn't go Georgetown. What did the volcano erupt? Well, the volcano did erupt and it's still there. I don't know. Listen, people must have voted for NDP. Like really close their eyes, carve them and voted, because there's no way you could have thought about all of these things and still go and put an X next to that party. No way. So people must have really carked the nose and vote. Cark the nose and vote. We build the modern medical center, and bit by bit, we're improving the services, adding new services, and offering services to Vincentians at a relatively low cost, and in some cases, like the dialysis, no cost. And that modern medical center in Georgetown is as a result of begging. And the NDP wants to berate St. Vincent and the Grenadines and berate the former government for that. Using the instruments of your sovereignty and independence. As a sovereign state, as an independent state, you can go out as a sovereign independent state and negotiate and speak with other states and seek benefits for your people. The modern medical diagnostic center is not in Ralph's backyard in Goss. We charge people to come in. It's something that offers proper health services to Vincentians. The debt forgiveness of $180 million from Venezuela did not go into Ralph's bank account. It means that the government had one less debt to service. The Atley Hall debt, same thing. The 30 million euros from UKIP, that was Ralph money, Ralph pocket. That was used to build the port. But in opposition, the irresponsible, juvenile New Democratic Party sought to use the fact that our government went out and exercised that as a way of berating the government and ultimately our country. So he said, thank God now they're in government, because hopefully things change. They've now gotten in government and they see how things are, and maybe they understand that okay, certain things need to be done. Or maybe they recognize, okay, when we were in that position, we said certain things. So we said it to get into the office, not to get the vote. But now we're in government. We gotta stop that. Because as the executive of a small island developing state, with all of its vulnerabilities and its peculiarities, we have to find creative ways, even as we seek to grow the economy and create opportunities for our people. We must also look at leveraging our independence and our sovereignty through engaging with other countries to see where we can get assistance wherever we can. Because we're not in a position to say we don't want. We don't want. Of course, if the assistant comes with strings that you just can't deal with, then you might have to say, you can't sell your soul. So if you're like me, you're thinking, well, as the New Democratic Party is no longer in opposition, surely their attitude would change. Surely the rhetoric would become more governmental, more leader-like, more mature, more serious, huh? More appreciative of the nuances that form a part of the management of an open economy like ours, a small island developing state. Well, if you thought so, you were wrong. If you thought so, you were wrong. Because I want to take you to the speech of the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. the Honorable Godwin Friday. And this speech was delivered just a few days ago on the 25th of May, Fisherman's Day, at the Central Market or the Fish Market, what we call Tokyo, in Kingston. And I want you to listen to the Prime Minister of this country speak of the previous government and how they assisted in moving St. Vincent and the Grenadines forward. Take a listen.
We cannot be a country that just begs and borrows for everything. Where we are now, the bill is coming for us, this government, to pay from all the begging and borrowing that they have done in the past. And they've neglected agriculture. They neglected the fisheries sector. They neglected the productive sectors because you could get easy loan to borrow. So you take the easy way out, and now the bill is coming to us to pay.
I want you to play that just one more time. And I want you to listen because after I listen, I am going to have my bit to say on that specific comment. So I play it again.
We cannot be a country that just begs and borrows for everything. Where we are now, the bill is coming for us, this government, to pay from all the begging and borrowing that they have done in the past. And they've neglected agriculture. They neglected the fisheries sector. They neglected the productive sectors because you could get easy loan to borrow. So you take the easy way out, and now the bill is coming to us to pay.
Now, to be honest with you, I'm not even going to try and discuss the word salad, the nothing that he just said. Because a government that was giving people boats and engine, access to boats and engine, access to loans and so on to buy pirogue and engine and so forth. To the NTRC, giving people navigational equipment and so forth for fishers. The government that was giving free fertilizers all across this country for years is a government that neglected agriculture and fisheries, like as God. The most you could do is give a 50% discount or how much ever, 30% discount on seedlings and so on. Ralph and them gonna give them away. Give away seeds, give him manure. So it's clearly a word salad. Like he opens his mouth, no thought, and things just jump out. And to those who are rabid and seem to be applauding for anything, they'll clap. But a little thought says, for all the farmers across, whether they voted NDP or not, you have to go, but hold on, and the Labour used to get free manure, and the Labour used to get free seeds. It was the ULP that took away sugar, the sugar import, from the NDP friends and them, and gave it to the import warehouse so that they could subsidize inputs for farmers. So I really don't want to get into the idiotic word salad that just came out of the mouth of that man. Actually, it's all idiotic word salad because the bill for all the borrowing, the bill is coming to the government for all the borrowing, the begging and borrowing, the bill for borrowing. When they borrow, just when you beg, it does pay back when you beg. So you pay back for the scholarships from Taiwan and Morocco and University of Wales, Trinity St. David and so on. We beg for the debt forgiveness from Otley Hall and so on. We got to pay back that too. We beg for money for the port for UKIP, 30 million. We get that. We got to pay that back too. I mean, we do plenty begging, and so now you had the bill for the begging. Then we been begging then, because I never knew a bill that's come when you beg. I never knew that. I never knew that. The PM goes out, he begs, he gets, you bring it back. You ain't got to pay that back. So I guess he meant, well, like I say what he mean. I shouldn't say what he means or what he meant, because that's not my role. And someone trained in a particular field of expertise, I can't say what he meant. I could only tell you what he said. And then he says, the bill is coming back to us now. So who's supposed to pay the bill? We borrow money for airport, who's supposed to pay it back? We borrow money for the port, who's supposed to pay it back? You think St. Vincent and Grenadines would have been able to expand its economy to the point where we could build an airport on our own? There's no Caribbean country, none, that built an airport on its own. None. And St. Vincent and Grenadines was not going to be the first, because if the NDP knew how to do it, they would have built it before 2001. No Caribbean country built its airport on its own because of growing the economy. But there are some brainless people who listen to Friday and would applaud that as, oh, the man, hey, none. The only way we could have built an airport is if we borrow for it, or if somebody give you. As a matter of fact, let me remind you that it was Eustace who asked Jerry, oh Lord, read him again, Jerry, oh my God. Jerry George, find it where? Jerry George asked him, if Venezuela and Cuba, if the ULP, if the NDP were to win the election and Venezuela and Cuba were to pull out from helping with the airport, would you commit to completing the airport? He said, find it where? Put the money where? He said, the traditional sources of money, traditional source of finance, like the World Bank and so on, ain't going to lend the money to build the airport. So find it where? So they couldn't do it. They had no clue. Labour did it through a mixture of borrowing and begging, and they criticized for that. And he's complaining that now we have to pay the bill for it. So who's supposed to pay the bill for it? I mean, just fly out of here. The same taxpayers who you talking about are who just fly out of AIA. And the same AIA is what we use to get the investments to grow the economy. So who's supposed to pay the bill? The port is the same thing. We borrow for the hospital. Who's supposed to do it? And I would love to see the magic that he's going to make, because I don't know of any, listen, whether it's Jamaica, Barbados, the big economies, they borrow money too. You know what? You know what is Barbados' debt to GDP? They borrow money to do their things too. But they're growing the economy so they could pay the debt, which is what we were doing. There's no bill that's coming now. As a matter of fact, the bill that was always coming, or the bills that were always coming, that Labour was meeting all the time, as soon as you reach, you don't chop your hand and say, I can't make it. Come, IMF, come. So don't go tell nobody about the bill that are coming to you. They're now coming. And you have long-term loans. Long-term loans. Small money. Small interest rate over long term. So the payment small. That's what we're doing. We're supposed to pay for them is all debt. The debt for all development. Why are you trying to make it look as if borrowing is a crime and is a scourge? Why are you trying to make it look as if, quote unquote, begging, reaching out to our friends, reaching out to our allies for assistance? Why are you trying to make it look as if it's a horrible thing? Is it because you are so much against begging? Is it because you are so much against borrowing? Is it because you have a better option to begging and borrowing that you are going to now go and present to the Vincentian population now that you are in office? Help me out, please, brother, Friday. Because I want to know, because listen, I love these things. And if you have a better option where you wouldn't embarrass yourself and the country by going to beg, and you wouldn't go and borrow the money, if you have a better option, brother Godwin, than embarrassing the country through begging and burdening the country with loan through borrowing, then bring the option on. And I was fortunate, viewers, listeners, I was fortunate to live long enough to see the option, the better option. I was fortunate enough to see the better option that Godwin Friday and the NDP has to the borrowing and the begging of the ULP. So I'm going to point you to a headline from SVG Times to show you option one. They're not borrowing, because borrowing does bring. Oh, wait, hold on. No, there's a mistake. Director, there's a mistake. The headline wrong. Director, what are you doing? The headline wrong. It says SVG government secures a loan. That sounds like borrowing to me. And this is, let me. What? Hold on. And this is in April. Let's count. December, January, February, March, April. 5 months. The NDP has borrowed $20 million from the OPEC fund. But all the bills from the borrowing coming in. So you're not going to borrow? I don't get it, Dr. Friday. You criticize borrowing. You demonize borrowing. Explain to me this headline. With you go IMF for the spring review, and you come back with a 20 million US dollar loan. Godwin, explain that to me, please, because the way you've been going on, the way you've been a pamper set, as old people just say, the way you've been a pamper set, I can't believe that you would then turn around and add an additional 50-something million dollars to an already huge debt that you complained about. So is this an error? Our one of the NDP bullies who does come on and defend everything to explain this to me, please. Exhibit 1. You had a better option. So after doing this in April, you had the heart in May to come and talk about borrowing. After borrowing $50 million in April, you come in May to talk about the bills and the cost of borrowing from the previous administration. Sometimes I am convinced that Godwin Friday believes in his heart that Vincentians are stupid. Or at least the people who are supporting him. Let me repeat that. I believe that Godwin Friday in his heart believes that Vincentians are stupid. Or at least those who are supporting him. Because there's no way you could criticize, you and your party criticize the government for 25 years of borrowing. Then you come in, and within 5 months, you borrow 50-something million EC dollars. And then a month after, you talk about the bills that you have to face because of borrowing of the previous government. So what about that? You ain't getting a bill for that one day? Eh? You ain't getting the bill for this 20 million US, $52 million loan, eh? Well, I don't even know, should I call it a loan? No bill? Or this is going to come to the ULP? Or what? Tell me. Is subsequent government supposed to pay this? So now you're going so this bill is yours. And people would hear that. Tell me, people, Alexei, tell me, no, we had to be stupid. We had to be stupid. So 5 months, start to borrow already. Okay, so maybe that was an anomaly. Maybe that was a mistake. Exhibit number 2. Exhibit number 2 from the NDP. Remember, they had a problem with all of the begging and the borrowing that was done by the previous administration. So, okay, they borrowed 20 million. Let's see what's happening next now. Number 2. A headline from March. So let's count. On 12th of March, December, January, February, 12th of March. 3.5 months. In 3.5 months, the party that criticized the ULP for begging packed up 3 ministers. The Deputy Prime Minister, who's the Minister of National Security, the Minister of, I don't know which ministry be, Heritage, Cultural Heritage, and so on, and the Minister of Education. 3 of them. And he sent not one, not two, not three, not two, but 3 ministers of government to Taiwan to beg for vehicle. I mean, again, the New Democratic Party and Godwin Friday must think we are stupid. Because you call St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the previous government beggars for years, but in 3.5 months of coming into office, you go and beg for car. You go and beg for car. You go and beg for ride. And I remember, I believe it would have been what, 2021 maybe? President of Taiwan came here. When she came here, the 12 vehicles police get, nobody ain't go back for that day. I'm not saying that we didn't ask for them. I'm saying nobody had to leave St. Vincent and go to Taiwan to beg for car. And we got 12. 12. They criticize that because we're begging. Explain to me, please, please, please. Explain to me how you could go beg Taiwan for cars in April, but come back in May at Fisherman's Day and talk about all the begging that the previous administration did. So you're begging special? You're begging special. You just begging dicks. Like Ralph and Labor used to beg in dialect. You just begging dicks. So you're begging nice. There's a young man. You probably have met him. A young man on the streets of Kingstown. Absolutely well spoken. I wouldn't call his name because I don't want to think, but I'm sure many of you have come across him. When it comes to you, he's absolutely well spoken. I'm going to ask you if it's possible for you to assist me with something for lunch, please. That's what NDP beg in Dix. Because everybody has partner beg $1. So apparently, Labour does beg like normal, very grand. NDP does beg in a Dix like the crackhead man. So they're begging special. So you can't call them begging. When you go, you send 3 ministers go beg for vehicle. You can't really call that begging. Or maybe that's not the begging bowl. Maybe it's a begging cup, like a plate cup. I don't know. So you're begging for vehicle. When you're begging for vehicle in April, 3 months after you take office. But in May, you're criticizing the previous administration of begging and stating dishonestly that the bill for all the begging is coming back to the government. Maurice, you see, the girl King went to I think what we call the name? Fanboy say the Minister of CMOS. Well, only they would know. Only they would know. But if that wasn't bad enough, if that was not bad enough, you see, at least, as I said, and I outlined, we go which grant for $30 million, euros, to assist with the port. Which grant for debt forgiveness, which grant for scholarships and so on. Yeah. But if that wasn't bad enough, that same delegation, Exhibit 3, I wanted to see how embarrassingly low they went with their begging. I want you to see how embarrassingly low they went with their begging. You know, the deputy prime minister, the prime minister in audition, I guess more and more people are recognizing now, as I saw the backlash, more and more people are recognizing that, hey, like this man, he just undermining Friday at every chance he gets. He's attack, and try to undermine the after Friday, like he really want the Friday work. But me tell you so, the man audition for the top job. The man is not satisfied with deputy. He wants the word deputy removed from the phrase before his name. He want the big work. He want he want riding in new Prado. And so he's going to constantly undermine and show up Godwin Friday because Godwin Friday himself has shown that he's weak. So give me the third picture, director. Man gotta tell him go back for money to start constituency fund. You know, he's always been about that, right? Money for the constituency. I don't know the ins and outs of how that is going to work. I love that. I love that. I'm begging calabash. I'm begging bowl. I'm begging calabash. Gone. And he trying to get Taiwan now to take the money and contribute to a constituency fund. Something is always championed. He's never really given the specifics of how he proposes it to work. But it has to do with the minister or the constituency representative having access to a fund. Not sure if it would be within the remit of central government and the whole treasury process. I don't know. He has never said it probably could be. I don't know. But Leacock led the discussions with the president of Taiwan to beg for money to set up a contingency fund. The war contingency fund clearly said Mr. Nguyen is had the money to do that separately. So let me go back to Taiwan. Let me go back to Taiwan. And this happened in April as well. So you're borrowing money from the same IMF that the previous government borrowed from. You're begging Taiwan for vehicles, just like the previous government did. You're begging Taiwan for money for the constituency fund, something that the previous government never did. When the government went to Taiwan for money, so big ticket items to do big things for the country. A $3 million is to do the YES program or the SET program, on-site program. Not to get a fund for politicians. And as I said, I don't know the specifics of it because he never described how that is going to be executed. But he has a very keen interest in that constituency fund. But you begin. So, like the previous government, you're borrowing money from the IMF. Like the previous government, you're asking Taiwan for assistance with vehicles for the police. Unlike the previous government, they're never going to ask for the money for constituencies. So how is it that you think after doing that in just 6 months, all of this happened, mind you, within the first 4 to 5 months of the NDP, not a year after, not 2 years after. All of this happened within the first 5 months of the NDP coming to office. There's a lunatic who speaks on their behalf, who has something about continues. But I guess we could probably name this episode The Begging Continues. The borrowing continues. And the small talk and old talk continue. Because that's all they're getting from the NDP. And when they realize that the flowery talk isn't working, they go back to what is true, what is tried, and what is tested. Ralph and Labour. Let me criticize them. When they realize that there is some problems with the flowery talk, that people are being skeptical about it. People are going, hold on. What do you mean by that? Or that make no sense. Like, for example, you say you're going to cut the excise tax in half for the fuel as part of the relief program. But the only problem with that is there's no excise tax on diesel sold to Vinlec. So you can't cut something in half that don't exist in the first place. But you think it was stupid. So I go fool all you. Because I went in the election and I win. So why not? Why not? Why not? Or he would tell you, listen, we're going to give you relief. You see, if the fuel surcharge jump above 71 cents, then Vinlec have to put a matching amount to the amount. But it ain't reached 70 cents. And it may probably never reach 70 cents. So guess what? There is no relief for you. Your bills are already high. Everybody is complaining about their bill. Why don't you cap it now at 67 cents or whatever it is? And they say, once it go over, we win the half. No, because we stupid. And they could continue to blind you and your old talk. And you're so caught up in the foolishness that you're realizing, wait, the emperor is naked. There's really nothing there. There's no relief. The talk about gas. And actually, you know what much person said to me today? If I knew, what you think I is stupid? Imagine you talked to Ali yesterday. He didn't talk to me because I didn't listen. I had no time with you. And he couldn't tell all you, gas me is tomorrow, eh? So none of you could have go full up last night. That's relief. Does a prime minister okay about all you? He spoke to you yesterday and could have said, from tomorrow, the price of gas at the pump is going up by 3,000 something cents. And last night you'd have had nice long lines at the gas, so at least you get top up before the gas price go up into the last soul. And I wake up this morning, boom, gas gone up. And I must feel stupid. Of course, those who voted for him and lap up at every word say, oh! You could have told her that gas price going up today. I could have followed up last night. I had to follow up yesterday evening. I had to follow up during the day. As a matter of fact, yesterday I had to go to Chateaubriand twice. So after I come from Chateaubriand, I'd love to be able to go to the I passed 2 gas stations on the Leeward and the one in Texaco. Could at least say, well, boy, let me stop there and full up at $13 because if I got full up at 16 something I paid. If the government really was interested in providing relief for you, Vincent Chance, you tell all this since yesterday gas went up today. But he continues to treat Vincent Chance as if you're stupid. Give we old talk. Give we word salad. Say nothing with a lot of plenty. And expect to get defended by some of those who, for whatever reason, are just hanging on to his every word. So these same people who for years followed the NDP, repeated the NDP talking points, talked about begging bowl and the begging of the government and the government begging and so on and so forth, are the same people now who have no problem with begging Taiwan for vehicle, begging Taiwan for money for start constituency fund, borrowing $52 million from the OPED fund. No problem anymore. While they say things are tough and the economy is in shambles, they're buying brand new vehicles for the office of the Prime Minister, brand new, $500,000. Brand new Prados. Hmm? Brand new Prados. He's been living in rent now for how many months? And there's a house there that was lived in by the previous prime minister the day before the elections. Hmm? I am told, I don't know how true it is, but I'm going to drop it on you because someone who told me this was is a good source. It's a good source. So I have no reason to doubt them. That now the ministers of government travel all over the place, business class. Mind you, government ministers across the region travel coach, travel economy. Not these. One particular minister, I could guess who he be, told his people in his ministry, listen, I do not travel economy. I do not travel economy. So, or taxpayers are now paying for Lavon, King, and other ministers to fly around. You know what? Let me not think before Lavon sue me, because but I'm told that the ministers of government in our country who've been very busy exploring the skies across our globe, do so flying business class. Well, they could correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I have no proof of this. I'm telling you what a source, a very credible source, said. And I hope that the opposition, as a question for Parliament, questions the class of travel of the ministers of government, the cabinet ministers, when they travel on government business. Find out, because they've been giddy, they've been excited, and all of this is happening while they continue to complain and they continue to tell you that they met an economy that was almost a failed state, that the treasury was empty, that nothing was happening. But at least we know, up until last year, we had vibrant activity in Kingston. The merchants in Kingston are balling, nothing happening. The merchants in Kingston are balling that nothing is happening. The place is dead. Place is dead. Well, if the place is dead, generate some activity. If the place is dead, generate some activity. You said you were the government for the private sector. What are you doing? You know, as it is in closing, as other close and other encourage individuals to share, like. I have to encourage individuals to continue to contribute to the show with their contribution. And you know, I'm saying people meet me all the time and say they would love to contribute and they want to know how. Simple. Dale Dennis is asking, how is my prime minister traveling? Well, my prime minister is traveling Friday. I suspect he, like his other cabinet members, are traveling. I suspect, I don't know, business class. I know in the last government, when Ralph Gonsalves was prime minister, the only person who traveled business class was the prime minister. The other ministers traveled economy, which, as I said, I know Dale is probably one of the ND people who got in for to talk to. The other ministers in the region would travel coach. I've traveled with them, going to different conferences and so on. And they travel in coach, but their prime minister would travel business, which is what pertained in St. Vincent as well. I am told, without verification, that has changed, that now everybody is traveling business. But it's interesting that Dale came on and didn't ask how were the ministers under the previous government traveling. He went straight to the prime minister. Again, he's clearly one of those persons who Godwin Friday could talk to. Clearly. But thank you for stopping by, Daily. Come back next week. And I'm sure you probably look at President Please as well. So please keep supporting the show. But let me tell you something, viewers, listeners, as I close. More and more, it is becoming extremely evident that much of what the NDP said during the campaign and its years in opposition were purely campaign talk designed to just get you to vote in a particular way. And it worked. And I'm saying that because now that they're in government, they have not so far been able to back up their campaign talk with any real decisive action. As a matter of fact, things are so bad that they are, even in government as the executive, still engaging in purely campaign talk. That's it. They're not governing, they're not implementing, they're not executing, they're campaigning. They get up at every chance they get in front of a camera and they continue to talk about the previous government. Now, understand this from my perspective. You can't talk about the previous government once you've done what you promised you're going to do to improve on what the previous government did. So, for example, when you come in and you reduce VAT to 13%, like you promised, you could say, well, the previous government had VAT around your neck as a wicked noose, struggling and squeezing at 16%. We have come and we've made it 13. Absolutely. I will clap you. You could say the previous government neglected fisheries and neglected agriculture because they did X, Y, and Z and ZZZ. But we are doing this now. And I will agree with you. But you can't talk about the previous government. When it was the previous government that put the farmers' input warehouse in place to subsidize the inputs for agriculture for our farmers and tell me that they neglected farming because now they're paying cheap. They're paying much cheaper for fertilizers. The previous government gave away free fertilizer over and over and over. So when you want to talk about the previous government, you talk about the previous government when you have been able to correct something that you identified that the previous government was doing. That was not for the benefit of our country. And you are able to fix it. You can't talk about the previous government in tourism because they're the one who put everything in place. That's reaping benefits now. You have done nothing. Can't talk about the previous government. But for some reason, all they talk about is the previous administration. There are people, one of my sisters overseas, messaged me yesterday. I honestly hadn't seen it. Messaged me yesterday and asked me if I saw Philip Jackson's post. I'm ready for Philip Jackson yet to know. I'm ready for Philip Jackson yet. Philip Jackson is a lazy man. I would know. And he knows I would know. But I'll get to Philip Jackson another time. I just want to talk about the post. My sister asked me if I saw Philip Jackson's post. He said, she put a post. She said, but I am sure, she said, she's overseas. She said, I am sure he didn't expect what he's getting. So when my sister said that, she didn't go into any detail. When my sister said that, I went on Facebook to look at Philip Jackson's post and he made this long post about Ralph Gonsalves being the worst of this and whatever. I didn't read all of it. I read some of it and then I got turned off because Philip really can't write nothing for me to read, to be honest. Right? But I did what I went in with what my sister suggested. I went to the comments because I wanted to see what was happening. And he might have expected more support from the post. But quite a lot of people expressed disappointment and disgust and disbelief that the Minister of Education would make such a post about the former Prime Minister. I mean, usually when they post and so forth, the usual suspects would jump on and as a choir just start to comment and make the post go viral and so on because they are they have something to prove. So the usual suspects could jump in, Maureen Game, Jacqueline Archibald, and so on and so on. The usual. But in this case, quite a lot of individuals, and many of them I don't know. I don't know which side they were on, and even some people who said, "Listen, election done. Let me move it." He didn't. I'm pretty sure he was surprised that he got so much pushback, and the same thing happened among all of the blogs that posted it. Significant pushback. The best thing I saw of it is the young lady from Liu, Miss John, who said she's a life coach. And she said, listen, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, if you get up, I write about Ralph. She said that shows a level of commitment and the way he's expressive. It shows that man could be in touch with their feelings and tell you how they feel. She's a woman. If your man don't message you at 4 o'clock with a long post, left him. That was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant, Miss John. I loved it. But you must have some Ralph derangement syndrome to get at 4 o'clock to type about Ralph. I mean, you must have some Ralph derangement syndrome. Maybe he's still carrying feelings from the way Ralph showed him up at Kittles when the fire occurred. I don't know. But if I were you, I wouldn't take it personal. I mean, Ralph was Prime Minister for 25 years. That happened. It's something I expected him to do, but he went there. You shouldn't. You shouldn't never get on your feelings for the one day. You just let go. But clearly, you're carrying deep-seated resentment for that, which I thought was something that you shouldn't take personal. But for those of you who are still hanging on to the words of Friday and the others and continue to provide excuses for them, for their incompetence, for their lack of action, for the stalled nature of our economy and our country at large. It's time for you to wake up. It's time for you to wake up. And many of you must be saying, like Tukul said, and it's not somebody a quote, but he said, you could say whatever you want about the previous administration, but it wasn't like this. And they're so desperate for some glimmer of hope that sometimes they fall over themselves over nothing. Anything to give them an opportunity to speak glowingly of the administration, of the NDP administration. But the truth is not going for them. If there is one time that the oft-used phrase of the NDP is relevant, when they say not now go on, it's the present time. It's the present time. Let me thank you so much for tuning in tonight on this episode of Up Late with Sehon Marshall. Let me encourage you to continue to support the program, to like, to share, to subscribe. Let's go to the channel. I wanted 2,000 subscribers by Carnival. Carnival coming and like the subscriptions slow down bigly. I need more people to be subscribing to the channel so we can get up to 2,000 by Carnival. Those of you who again continue to contribute, I appreciate it. I thank you. You're keeping the program on air. Those of you who are moved so to do, but haven't done so yet, listen, we're taking it, whether it's small or big, we're taking it. On the screen is the number for the Zelle. If you're in the States, in Canada, want to use Zelle, just go no man, just Zelle something to the account. All right? Great or small. We ain't refusing nothing. And those of you who are here, well, those of you who are here, many of you have already done your part. You may be low pay and so on. So I'm easy to find. Okay? And continue to spread it. The program is impactful. You would not believe both this one and Present Please. The impact is unbelievable. The love and support is amazing. I thank you very much, every one of you who take your time to watch, to share, to like, to subscribe. Keep the love. Until next Thursday. God bless.